Hi everyone, it's John. What up? Welcome back to another video and happy Press Junket Day. Yes, folks, today is the day that we actually get to see the interviews that were done last month by the Wheel of Time cast. Now, we've already seen a bunch of them come out today. Talker Randrioid, WhatSerious.com. A few others have already shared their Press Junket interviews, including a bunch of major publications as well. And I finally get to share mine with you folks too. So I got to sit down with Marcus Rutherford, Donal Finn, Sophie Okonedo, and Daniel Henney and ask them a little bit about the show in the third season. Now, we didn't have a whole lot of time with them, but it was a surreal experience, so I want to share those interviews with you now, and then after the interviews are over, I'll talk a bit about the experience, because it was my very first real official interview with some of the cast members, and let me tell you folks, it was something else. Now, if you're excited about the release of Season 3 of The Wheel of Time, it comes out March 13th. If you're interested at all about the show, consider making us your home for Wheel of Time news. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, tell a bunch of your friends, folks. I mean, these are interviews with the cast. It doesn't get much better than this. We are almost at our goal of 25,000 subscribers. We're under 1,000 now. Let's see if we can get there before the release of Season 3. Now, we're going to dive into these interviews now. I'll showcase Daniel Henney and Sophie's first, and then we'll dive right into Donal Finn and Marcus Rutherford's, and then we'll talk a bit about the experience afterwards. I hope you folks enjoy near as much, or even half as much, as I did. Hi, Mother. Hi, Daishan. How are you today?
Mother.
Hi. How you doing, brother? You good?
I'm fantastic. I feel a little sick. I'm so excited. So.
Oh, good. Good. That's always fun.
Oh my God, that's the point.
So how are you folks doing? I know it's a long day for you, but I hope everything's going well so far for you.
Oh, we had a good time, actually.
We're just saying we found a good rhythm. We're working well together, so
Good.
we're in a good spot.
We're fresh still.
That's awesome. So first questions for Daniel. Lan's often seen as this machismo sort of stoic instrument of death by some people in the fandom, but that's not Lan at all. He's way more complicated than that.
That's what my wife said.
Yeah, 100%. So he loves poetry. He feels deeply. He loves passionately. Rand described him as an onion in the books. So there's this big conflict of what his character is. You showcase that depth of character really well and easily on screen. Is it hard for you at all? Because it doesn't seem like it.
It's hard for me sometimes to not go too far with it. I think as an actor, emotion's a tricky thing. If you wade in the waters a little bit, you feel like you want to go further. But with Lan, I'm very aware, and with the great team around me, that I have to be careful about where that line is with him. We've taken risks, which I love. I've talked to people about it in the past, and I like who he is as the character in the show. We found a rhythm with him. I'm willing to go further, but I think this little area he's in is really, really good and powerful for him right now.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see what he does in Season 3. So Sophie, sort of kind of the same question, but Siuan's arguably the most powerful woman in the world, and it's a matriarchal society, so there's a lot of really powerful women, and she's right up there at the top. But she's also gentle, passionate, and kind, especially with her relationship with Moiraine. Which side of the character is your favorite, I guess is the best way to put it? Do you like playing the all-powerful woman matriarch, or do you prefer the more gentle moments with Rose?
I like being able to switch, and I like being able to switch within a scene if I can. One of my favorite things to do is you're going like 100 miles an hour one way, and there's a really sharp corner, and you don't put the brakes on, you just switch down that next avenue. So that's like my favorite thing acting-wise to do. Obviously, not every scene requires that, but so, and I've got to do a bit of that in Season 3. So, like, she goes out one way, and then the next door she's another way. So, and actually a bit humorous sometimes, which is fun.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And so the more different things I get to do. I mean, what's boring is if you come and do the same thing every time. But of course, each character is a kind of archetype. So whatever series you're doing, you are going to come back and sort of slightly repeat what that character, you notice it much more when you're doing a long series. Like, I feel like I've done this bit before, but the audience don't notice that. It's just sometimes as an actor you feel like, but even in the greatest things you do, it's just that's the way it works, storytelling. But I felt for this, I got to do a lot of different things. So this was my favorite season by a country mile. I really, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
I know the fandom's super, super looking forward to the next season, and everything I've heard sounds like it's going to knock it right out of the park. So I'm very excited to see both of you on screen for it. I know there's only a few seconds left, but how happy is the fandom going to be with Season 3? Like, on a scale of 0 to 1 million.
Upper 900,000s. I think we've really changed things. I mean, I can just say a few things about how we've shot the third season. It's bigger. The cameras are wider. The battle sequences, which I know you know where the battles might take place. We're going to see multiple fights simultaneously happening. We can switch back and forth with different focus points, and you're going to see a lot happening at the same time. Epic is an overused word, but I think it's right here. It's a really, really great season, and we're very proud. This is the Wheel of Time to me. As Wheel of Time as we've gotten, this is the Wheel of Time, so I'm very excited.
I'm super excited too. Well, thank you both very much for this today. I appreciate it, and I hope the rest of your day goes very smooth.
Thank you.
Thanks. How are you doing?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Nervous, but great.
Don't be nervous anyway.
So we don't have much time, so I've got a couple questions for each of you. We can probably get through one each. Marcus and Donal, like both of you are fan favorites, 100%. The fandom loves you both to death. So this question is to both of you. How surprised were you at the scope of the obsession?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where you get asked a lot of questions about, being on this big fantasy show, and we've had it a lot today, and the scale and scope and the locations but I think when you actually get down to it, I think some of the reason why people love these stories is the characters. There's something about these characters that resonates with everyone. They're so different in different ways. They bring on different kind of personality traits and different kind of understandings. I've really resonated with Perrin just reading it, and I know people can see a lot in kind of young girls. I've been out with Zoe, and people have come up to her and said they've seen so much in Nynaeve in themselves and stuff like that. So I think yeah, I don't know. I think being a part of a world which has such enriched characters is incredible. And I think to have that ability to kind of live with them and grow with them and be on a show where we're on a third season now, and to see them develop and all those choices and ways that you want to portray a character arc, like some might be at a slower pace than others, and I think that to kind of reap those fruits for those storylines that are in the books is amazing. So I'm really looking forward for everyone to see season 3.
Yeah, I think it's a great privilege as an actor to play these roles where not only is there like a massive source material, and that source material is so loved, which means that people have like an affiliation or a connection to these characters before you meet them on screen. But that something that I thought about a lot when I was on season 2, which is my first season, was that I was starting my journey of reading the books, and I was thinking like, I'm not a speed reader, so it was taking me time to get through, to catch up to where we are with the story. And that, like, when in meeting fans, when I started the job, friends of my family said, "Oh, I grew up with those books. I read those books. Like, they were my favorite books when I was a teenager, or I've only recently discovered them, but I'm obsessed with them." Is that it takes time, like it is a commitment to read those books, and that where you go on such a massive journey with all the characters, and they have their own individual journeys, but from the time that you start reading these books to the time that you end, like, that's going to be a chunk of time in your life, and that like you kind of change with these characters. That's my experience with them anyway, and that you can't help but feel connected to that because they're going through their own trials and tribulations as you are, as you read it and stuff. So I think, and what's been great is just like, with the show being out, we've all had experiences of like meeting fans, person to person, and kind of and then explain, like, they're so encouraging, like they're so sound about the reception of the show. And like, I naturally, if something that I like loved so much was being adapted onto screen, you feel such kind of a connection to it that you hope that it will be exactly as it is in your head. And I appreciate that, like, the encouragement that we've felt from fans, and yeah, I just think it's I feel very lucky that the fan base are so supportive.
Well, I'm excited to see both of you on screen for season 3, especially considering that some of the storylines are being adapted. Thank you both so much for taking the time with me today. And I know it's been a long, trying day for you folks, but thank you again for taking the time.
No problem at
thank you,
all.
man.
Thank you.
All right, so that was super fun. I hope you folks enjoyed watching that even half as much as I did enjoy doing it, because it was just a blast, folks. It really was. So if you noticed kind of a trend between this and the other content creators interviews and some of the major publications that are out there right now that are happening and being released, is they were very short, and that is entirely true. The interviews themselves were about 4 minutes long each. There was an intro, you got to ask questions, and at about the 3 minute mark they came out and gave you the signal to start wrapping it up, because you had about a minute left. So there wasn't a whole lot of time to ask questions. Now, with Daniel and Sophie, I get very fortunate that they both answered a question, and there was a third question I was able to pose. But with Marcus and Donal, they were so excited that they just kind of answered the one question between the two of them, and that was my whole time. And that sort of went par for the course with everyone else in the other interviews you're seeing that are popping up right now. Now, the day itself, for me, was long but super enjoyable, and that was just me doing a couple of interviews. So I was supposed to do 3 interviews. You saw 2 of them there. The third one got cut short due to a previous commitment by one of the other cast members. So basically, they ran out of time and they had to leave. Hopefully, at some point, it can be rescheduled, but I really don't know. It said that it might be possible, so you may see another interview coming from me later on, or you may not. I don't know. But essentially how this worked is I get pulled into a Zoom call with a ton of other people. Now, there were content creators there that I knew and recognized from the Wheel of Time community, and some of them I'm friends with. So I was like, hey, you're here too. It was fantastic. And amongst us, there were a ton of really high-profile journalists. So we're talking CNN, Den of the Geek, Variety, Deadline, a bunch of other news publications. I recognize the names out of, I'd say, 90% of these publications, folks. And these were real journalists, and they were sitting there. And I'm not going to lie to you, a lot of them this was a job to them. They were not super pumped or excited. They were just there to ask their questions and get the stuff out of the way and go home. I myself was grinning ear to ear the whole time. I was just happy to be included, folks. I don't know what to tell you. So all in all, the whole process for me took about 2.5 hours. And that was for 2 4-minute interviews, because I got in, I had to wait for a bit. And then after waiting for a while, they kind of moved the schedule around because, sometimes things happen. And then I got an interview in, and then I had to wait a lot longer. And then I got another interview in, and then there was a little meeting afterwards talking about things that were going on. And then my day was done. So yeah, it was a long day for me in that respect. But for these cast members, I couldn't imagine doing what they were doing. Now, they must have been tired. I mean, they probably sat there all day answering a lot of questions from a lot of different people that ran the gambit, from book-specific questions to questions that were very general about the entertainment industry, because some of these journalists probably didn't know much about the show or the books, but they were there to do a job, and some of them were probably fans, and some of them were probably super fans, like myself and some of the other content creators. So answering the questions all day, and probably a lot of them the same questions, just over and over and over with minimal breaks, had to be taxing on the cast. And I want to give a big shout out to every one of them that participated in this press junket, because it couldn't have been fun, and it definitely was probably really boring for all of them, because it was just the same thing over and over again, like Groundhog Day, over and over and over. And they are great people and good sports for doing this, and they sat there and they answered questions like a champ all day. So big shout out to the cast for that. Thank you so much. But yeah, no, it was something else seeing all of these real journalists, these bigger publications, these other content creators that are much bigger than me that I recognized and watch myself, seeing some of my friends there as well. It was something else. Now, this will not probably be the last set of interviews they do. I believe there's going to be some more coming out in the next coming weeks and months. Now, depending on the level of questions people asked, some of these interviews will be under embargo for a little bit longer. So we were given a list of rules. One of the rules was you can't contain anything spoilery for the 3rd season, or else your interview may be held. Now, that's why my questions were a little more general, a little more about the characters, and a little bit more of the fandom, because I wanted to be able to share this with you folks on the end of the embargo, the 24th. But there were some other people that asked questions that dealt with things specifically for Season 3, and they can't release those things until after Season 3 airs. So some of the interviews are being held, so you'll probably see some at a later date as well that have more show-specific information in them. Either way, it was a ton of fun. I'm really glad I got to do this, and I'm really happy that I could share with you folks. And again, one more big shout out to the fandom out there for everyone who supported me in the last little bit. The amount of new faces and subscribers we see in the channel is just staggering. The amount of love and support from the community on social media, in my DMs and email, and here in the channel and comments has been absolutely fantastic. And I want to thank you all very much for it. I can't wait to meet a ton of you in person at JordanCon. And yeah, this has just been a blast, folks. Look out for more Season 3 content coming from me. We'll do a news video tomorrow, a Wheel Time Wednesday video on Wednesday, of course. And we'll do some stuff on Thursday and Friday as well. I have some character profiles that are coming and some stuff that's going to happen in Season 3 that I think for non-book readers would be advantageous to watch prior to the season. So we're going to do a bunch of stuff in the next couple weeks. So thank you all very much for sticking with me here to the very end. Here's to many more.